Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video we're going to take a look at the brand new Tier 8 premium Italian battleship, the Roma. Boy, oh boy, is she not a very good looking ship, and is honestly a pretty good battleship here at Tier 8. Now for BIA, Puddin and myself both purchased this ship, so what you're going to get here is myself looking at the ship here in port with the statistics, the captain skills, the equipment, and the consumables, and then the gameplay that you're going to see is a very nice game that Puddin had in the Roma. I myself have not had a chance to play it yet, however I have taken it into the training room quite a bit. So we're going to start off here with the survivability, and the Roma is very nice for a Tier 8 battleship. The hit points is right about in the median. It's 65,400. However, you can see it has a 375mm armored belt, and it has a little bit of a fore-end armor belt that sticks out towards the bow that's 130mm. That is not a weak spot, and if a battleship gets baited into shooting that, even a Yamato's shells will auto-bounce. The barbette is 350mm on the turret. The upper plating armor is 70mm, which is honestly pretty nice. And then, of course, you get the standard 32mm bow and stern. So this thing is extremely resistant to enemy shell fire. The citadel does extend above the waterline, so as long as you're not going full broadside, this thing is able to tank shells, at least from battleship rounds, pretty easily, in my opinion. The reload time on its main guns, you get 9 381mm guns, so basically 15 inches in caliber. You get 2 turrets at the front and 1 at the rear. They have a reload time of 30 seconds. The 180-degree turn time without expert marksman is a sizzling 30 seconds. That is best in tier, and it is very good at being able to engage targets quickly from one side to the other. The AP shell damage, 12,000 flat, is pretty nice. The firing range of 18.1 kilometers is a bit on the low side. However, that's made up for by the shell velocity, 850 meters a second. This thing is able to hit targets at range very easily due to the very fast shell velocity. Now, the dispersion is relatively poor at 227 meters. However, the sigma is only 1.8, and it feels very German in that regard. This thing does not hit targets very well at anything above 13 to 14 kilometers. The Aaa Armament on the Roma is rather poor as well. You get 20, 37, and 90mm guns. You do get a decent amount of them, but the DPS is rather poor. You can see with the 1939 37mm, it's 37 DPS, 93 on the Brettas, and 114 on the OTO 90mm. However, the firing range base is only 4 kilometers, so this thing, even fully built as an AA ship, is just not going to be able to shoot down a lot of planes, and there's really no point into speccing into it. The maneuverability, however, is very good for a Tier 8 battleship. 30 knots top speed, which is very nice. That's right about on par with the Amagi. The turning circle of 810 meters is okay, and the rudder shift time of 15.6 seconds is not bad as well. This thing does handle okay. However, the concealment on this thing is fantastic. 11.2 kilometers fully souped up for concealment allows this thing to have second best at Tier 8 in concealment, just behind the Monarch that has 10.8 kilometers. So this thing is able to move into position early in the game very stealthily and catch some cruisers. About half of the cruisers in its matchmaking spread, it is actually able to outspot. Now, taking a look at the captain skills, obviously I only have a 10-point captain on this guy. Preventative maintenance, adrenaline rush, superintendent, and concealment expert are pretty much standard, at least for this ship, for the first 4 captain's perks to get. I am going to be using Elite Commander XP to get more XP on my guy, probably at least up to 14 before I do take it out on the random server for a spin. However, some of the captain skills that Puddin told me that he would recommend would be Jack of all trades, because you don't need expert marksman, so you can get your repairs and your heals back a little bit quicker. Basics of survivability is a very good thing on battleships, of course, because it reduces by 15% the flooding, the fires, and all that good stuff. And then fire prevention is not a bad idea as well, because this thing has a pretty workable armor scheme. Sans the high citadel, you want to be able to tank and get every bit of your hit points that you can out of this thing. For the consumables, spotting aircraft, again, 18.1 kilometer maximum range is not very good, so you're going to want to be able to hit targets at 20 plus kilometers with the spot plane. Even though you won't be hitting that many shots at range, it's still nice to have. Their repair party is pretty standard, and you obviously want to be going premium with all of these consumables, because this is a premium ship and it does earn a nice bit of credits. And then, of course, premium damage control party is the way to go as well. So yeah, the Roma here is good. It's honestly pretty good. For the upgrades, main armaments modification 1, pretty standard, keeping the turrets in play. The turret armor is pretty good, but it's always nice to have that insurance. Damage control systems mod 1 and 2. Again, going with a full tank build on this ship, in my opinion, is going to be the way to go. Getting aiming systems mod 1 because the AA is so poor and that there's really no reason to upgrade it. That's why you want to go with this. Get that maximum dispersion down by that 7%, which will help a little bit more than having AA guns mod 2. Obviously, damage control mod 2, as I already mentioned. And then, of course, for the last one, you want to be going with the concealment so you can get it down to that, again, very, very nice 11.2 kilometers. So, yeah, overall, the Roma, this thing is pretty good. It gives you a little bit more flexibility than American or Japanese battleships at the expense of having a higher citadel and lower caliber guns. So this thing is going to, I'd say, work in the hands of players that don't mind being a little gimped in the armaments department, but like their ship to have, you know, better soft stats. And again, the maneuverability is workable. The concealment is great. The turret traverse, you know, something that you probably won't think about too much, is really good. And overall, this is a ship that I think will have a pretty high skill ceiling in that regard. So with that being said, we're now going to get stuck into the gameplay. Alrighty guys, we're now going to get stuck here into the gameplay, and as I mentioned, this replay came courtesy of my buddy Puddin, and he's playing by himself, and it's some domination here on the map Estuary. So of course the big difference that you've probably already noticed is that Puddin decided to reach into his wallet a little deeper and pay for the I'll just say interesting camo job that the Kobayashi premium paint gives you. Now, of course, you can either get the Type 10 camouflage if you just buy the ship as a standalone, or you can spend a little bit more money and get this very interesting looking stuff in the higher costing bundle. Now, I will get into it a little bit more in the post-battle results because this camouflage does allow you to become the preeminent credit maker at Tier 8. But if you can get over that beer can that's on the top, I don't know, man. I'm an old guard at heart. I love looking at the historical pictures of ships, and I'm just not really a fan of the beer can. The red and the white, the black, the green, all of that looks fantastic. I'm even okay with the Japanese text on the side of the ship as well, the symbols, but that beer can just, at least to me, it's a little bit interesting, a little bit too much for my taste personally. But regardless of that, Puddin decided to buy that camel for it, so, you know, whatever. Anyway, so what does this ship do good? I touched on it a little bit in the port, but obviously as the gameplay progresses, I'm going to expand on it more. Now, for me personally, I love ships that have low detection ranges, and 11.2 kilometers is fantastic. This thing will allow you to start and stop engagements with ease over other German, American, and Japanese counterparts. The only thing, again, that's going to give you issue is a Monarch that has a 400-meter detection radius, better than you, I should say, 10.8 kilometers to 11.2. But this thing is going to be able to stop and start engagements with ease, especially when it is playing against lower-tiered ships. It's going to be able to outspot a Colorado, a Nagato, the Ashitaka, I think. That's the Tier 7. Yeah, the Ashitaka. I mean, this thing is going to be able to get the jump on a lot of battleships that it comes across in its matchmaking tier. And you can see right there, he gets the first salvo off on the North Carolina and does over 12,000 points of damage with 3 penetrations and 1 over penetration. So a very nice opening salvo by Puddin. And any second now he's going to go undetected right here. There we go. Now, and that's just the power of the Roma. This concealment is game-changing. You're going to be able to do a lot, and he's going to take advantage of that over the course of this game. That is not only going to be the only time that he's going to be able to do that. So very early on, the enemy team does have control of the Delta objective. You can see pushing over here with him is a Mogami. There's a Mas. There's a... actually, there's 2 Mogamis, excuse me. And that's really it that's over here. And you can see that the enemy team is bringing the majority of their ships over here. So Puddin made the very nice decision, and instead of continuing to push into Objective D, he decided to turn away and use this island for cover to try and get behind and not get shot at. Now, one thing that I didn't harp on too much in the port that must be mentioned is that the deck armor on this thing is actually really, really good. And while it's not uniform across the entirety of the ship, 152mm IFHE spam is not able to penetrate the deck. So what that means is that you are much better able to tank damage from light cruisers than you would be able to in any other Tier 8 battleship. You're not going to get those 4 or 5K salvos from Chapayevs, Mogamis, honestly, they can be even more than that. I've seen 6-7K with a a really well placed IFHE salvo. So them spamming at your superstructure is still going to do a decent bit, but if their shells are off and they hit the stern or the front part of the ship, it's not going to do a lot of damage. So that's why that both put in an eye as he gets his first Citadel and another really nice salvo off here at the beginning. That's why Putin and I both agreed that you need to run a tank build on this thing, because you're going to be able to outlive other battleships simply due to the fact that you're able to stand up to HE spam much better. Now, as the enemy Roma goes on in concealment right there, just for a split second, Putin's focus gets taken away, but now he's getting ready to fire a salvo at this guy. He is turning away a little bit, and I don't believe Putin recognized that, but now I'm going to harp on it a little bit more here in the replay. Now, the dispersion on this thing is not that great. The Sigma, back in the day and age, 1.8 Sigma was fantastic. Now that seems like the baseline that must be met, or the pitchforks come out and everybody gets angry about it. But the dispersion on this thing is not very good. And combined with the relatively pedestrian Sigma, at least what now we're, used to with battleships, it can lead to a lot of salvos that are very wonky in this thing. And a lot of it has to do with the shell velocity. Because it's 850 meters a second, historically, in real life, shell velocity, the higher it is, the less accurate, because the shells are going to, deviate from the center. They're going to deviate more. The barrel life is not as big. So you can see here with this Belfast, the dispersion is okay, but he also gets a lot of over-penetrations on the broadside. So not only do you have a lot of shells that aren't able to, land in the center, so to speak, you're going to get a lot of wild salvos in this thing. But because the shell velocity is so nice, you get so many over-penetrations on broadsides. And the best way to play this thing is not at short range and not at long range, but at the medium range, where your shells have enough time to dive into the water, just below the belt armor, and be able to get citadels. And both of the really meaty salvos that Putin had came at medium-ish ranges for Tier 8. Both of those salvos that he had to start off, the 12K on the North Cal and then the Citadel shot on the New Orleans, were both around 15 to 16 kilometers, which is, that's a good range to hit. Here's another one. This Belfast is at 15 kilometers. He is sailing away. You can see the shells are going to have enough time to fall in right at the front part of the Belfast and penetrate right through the barbette. 27,000 points of damage dealt to that guy. 3 overpens and 2 Citadels going right underneath the A and the B turret. And again, 3 examples right there of that medium-ish range, 15, 16 kilometer, where this thing is going to be able to deal very consistent damage in that regard. But once you start getting underneath that, you're going to get a lot more over penetrations that then you're going to be used to with other battleships. This is no North Carolina. This is no Amagi in that regard. Now you can see Putin has also refrained from using his repair party as well. And like I said, this thing is quite the tank if you do not get citadeled because of your ability to hold up to high explosive spam. Excuse me. You can see right here, more pretty decent shots into the side of the Monarch. You did about 5,000 damage right there. But yeah, if you're able to utilize Superintendent well, you will be able to get through games using all of your repairs, as long as you're able to stay alive and manage your repair party. And it's a lot easier to be able to manage the repair party because you're so resistant to high explosive spam, and your hit points as a whole are going to be able to last for a lot longer than other battleships. Now, unfortunately for the game, it's 386 to 734. His team has lost 4 ships, while the enemy team has lost nothing, but he is about to secure the first kill of the game for his team as he picks up the kill on that Tier 8 Soviet light cruiser, the Chapayev, and brings the scores back now to 433 to 692. You can also see an enemy, an Indianapolis is coming through here into that smoke screen, but he will be getting detected shortly. You can see, however, every time Putin shoots and he is reloading, he does go undetected because he is moving away from those enemy ships that are over in the decap. And again, due to the great concealment that this thing has, he is able to control the pace of the engagement. He's able to control the range that the engagements have been happening in. He realized early on that he needed to get away from D, and he was able to do that without any issues. So the next salvo that goes in on the Indianapolis, somebody manages a cheeky citadel. It appears that Bismarck did. So he has a wonderful kill steal on the Indianapolis, taking care of that Tier 7 premium American heavy cruiser. So he picks up his second kill of the game, and he's up to 68,000 points of damage. So very nice kill secure right there, Putin. Excuse me. It was definitely a kill secure, not a kill steal, but I digress. Taking that cruiser off the board is important, and it has brought the scores back a little bit more in his team's favor. Now you're going to see here, he is going to shoot at an enemy Roma. And he's going to aim above the belt armor, you know, trying to go for those superstructure shots. You can see the dispersion is actually pretty decent, and we're going to see what these shells are able to do. 5 ricochets just off the deck on the front of the ship. 1 pen, 1 overpen. That is the power of the front armor on the Roma. As I mentioned in the port, there's that nice strip of 130 millimeters that's on the front of the bow on both sides. And even if he was in a Yamato right there shooting at that guy, those shells still would have ricocheted. And that is why the Roma at these really nice angles is able to tank with the best of them. You can see the next salvo, he does adjust and aims higher into the superstructure, but he still gets a bunch of over penetrations and only does 6,700 points of damage, even though those shells most likely would have traveled through the length of the superstructure. So yeah, again, over penetrations at these shorter ranges. Let's not kid ourselves here. 11 kilometers at Tier 8 is pretty short range for a battleship, and still a lot of over penetrations on the superstructure. He gets his next salvo out, and look at the dispersion. That is pretty garbage. It appears only 1 shell is going to hit, and it hits off the side of the belt armor for another ricochet. So very unfortunately for him, no more damage dealt to that guy. However, his team has redeployed pretty nicely. There's now 4 battleships, including put in here at the home cap, at the sea cap, and they're going to try to deal with this push that is trying to come through 2 directions. You can see there's some ships, that Roma at least, that is trying to come through the narrow channel that's just off to his left, and there's also some more ships that are coming through the D cap. Now you can see the enemy Błaszkowika was last spotted at Gulf 10. However, you saw that smoke screen that just appeared off to the right side, so that absolutely means that he is sitting there and he's peppering all of the battleships that are over here with his high explosive shot. But Putin really doesn't have to worry about that guy. Even if he decided to switch focus to him, he's going to be able to deflect those shells without too much of an issue. Now, unfortunately, he has strayed below the 11.2 kilometer threshold. He is way too close to this Bismarck, so he is now unable to dictate the pace of the combat right here. However, he still has 42,000 hit points. That's still a very decent amount to work with. And you can see a lot of the high explosive spam here is not really chunking him that badly. He does have a fire burning on the middle of the superstructure. However, his next salvo that is going out is going to kill this Graf Spee, and he picks up his 3rd kill of the game. Another cheeky kill secure right there. And he's up to 82,000 points of damage. He uses his next repair. I believe that is number 3 for him. You can see all those Błaszkowika shells that are hitting into the superstructure and just not dealing a lot of damage on him. Some of them hitting the turrets, and yeah, all those shells are breaking. And he decided to turn to the right not a moment too soon, as those torpedoes most likely would have come in and hit him. So at this point, the smoke screen does dissipate, but the Błaszka is a smart player. He decides not to continue shooting. Putin does pop up his fighter aircraft. You can see here he's going to shoot right at the bow of the North Carolina, and his aim was a bit off, and no shells do connect, so a poor salvo right there. However, this North Carolina is going to turn broadside here any second. Now, like I said, this thing is better at those medium-range combat ranges. However, it is still able to get citadels every now and then at point-blank range, but I've noticed throughout the training room and then from what Putin gameplay that I've watched and other community contributor gameplay that I've watched that getting citadels at these close ranges is something that you just can't count on. Now this salvo is the outlier. He manages 4 pens and does 23,000 points of damage, hitting right underneath the 2 turrets on the North Carolina. But I'll be honest with you, that salvo did surprise me a little bit based off of my observations in the training room. But nevertheless, he got the nice penetrations that he needed. The score is now 721, 725 to 803. The Bismarck did decide to hang back a little bit. I'm not sure why he didn't push in there. So this is now anyone's game. His team has lost 6 ships, while the enemy team has lost 5. But it does appear that the friendly Błaszkowika will be going down here shortly. He's less than 1,000 hit points. And at this point, Putin has cracked over 100,000 points of damage, which is very nice, with 4 citadels. Very good stuff. So we're going to see here what his next move is going to be. Unfortunately, that Bismarck is angled in very nicely. American piercing shells, or AP shells from a North Cal, would be much better at dealing with this angled Bismarck than the Roma's 15-inch guns. So, you know, when this Bismarck is bowing, this is just not a very good shot to take. Now, he is backing up, and he is providing a bit more of a broadside, so we'll have to see what kind of damage he can do here. But again, the dispersion is not generally going to be very good. The shells fall in, and he gets a couple over pens, but 3 out of the 5 shells that hit were ricochets. So that's the price that you're going to have to pay. You're not going to have consistent gun performance. I know I've already harped on it a few times, but you just cannot count on it in this ship. And it will drive some people pretty mad. Like I said, in the training room, I tested it out quite a bit, and it is rather frustrating to deal with. It really is. Now you can see right there that Roma salvo that was shot at Putin only did 3,400 points of damage, and a lot of the shells once again bounced off of the bow of the ship. Putin's next salvo is going for his another very cheeky kill secure on 24 hit points, as he gets an overpen on the Belfast and takes care of his 4th ship of the game. But again, you saw that Roma salvo shooting at the bow in Putin's bow in Roma, and it just didn't do a lot of damage at all. And you're going to be able to get away with that. Now, this enemy Roma at 11.2 kilometers away, this would definitely be an outlier for the Roma's guns. Because that citadel extends above the waterline, you're still going to get a lot of over-penetrations, but if the shells do hit that part that sticks above, you're still going to be able to get a citadel on that guy. Now, you can see there the Roma did manage to turn away in the nick of time, and 2 of the shells ricocheted, hitting right on the side of the armor belt. Something tells me if that was a North Cal, that with the significantly weaker belt armor, that might not have been able to hold up. But you're going to see here when Putin turns left and goes around the corner, he's going to get another broadside or another front turret salvo out against the Roma, and the results are going to be drastically different. He doesn't go for his 4th kill secure of the game, as the Bismarck does die from the friendly North Carolina salvo. But you're going to see here as he rounds the corner, the enemy Roma has 22,000 hit points. Putin lets loose the front guns. The shells are falling in on the target, and at 10.8 kilometers, he manages to get 1 citadel and 1 penetration for 17,000 points of damage. Like I said, overpens at this range happen a lot, but when the Roma gives that much broadside, you should expect something like that, just because the citadel sits so high on the waterline. And yeah, that's what you should expect. But cruisers in that situation, I mean, you saw on the broadside. On the broadside Chapayev, you saw on the Indianapolis, you saw on the Belfast, it was just over penetrations. Now, his next salvo does manage to pen somewhere on the superstructure, and he picks up the Kraken and his 5th kill of the game. But unfortunately for him, this is just not enough to be able to take care of this victory. The score is 797 to 950. Excuse me. You're going to see him take 3 torpedoes right here from the Blishkovika. And he didn't lose that much hit points. The torpedo belt protection is 40% if you go with a full tank build, which is really, really nice. That thing is, I believe, second only to the Amagi in the torpedo belt protection. So, unfortunately for him, he doesn't have any more heals to use because he's been able to use all of them throughout the course of the game. And you can see here, once again, with the Blishka shooting at his superstructure, he is just doing minimal amounts of damage and is not really able to deal significant amounts like you could expect on other battleships. And with that being said, the game is about to end here. And despite Putin's very valiant effort, it is going to end in a defeat. What a game here by Putin in the Roma. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results, just over 1 million credits earned and 3,700 total EXP. He picked up Dreadnought and Kraken Unleashed. He dealt 131,000 points of damage with 5 citadels and 57 shell hits. He had 2 incapacitations and sank 5 enemy ships. Taking a look at the team score, 1,225 base XP on the losing effort. Anything over 1K and you were doing some massive work. So a very good game here by Putin once again. Taking a look at the detailed report, all of the damage was dealt with the AP shot. Very nice stuff. The potential damage also pretty respectable at 1.6 million. Very nice number right there. And you can see he took 102,000 points of damage and was still able to walk away with a well-earned Dreadnought. Now, like I said earlier, I was going to talk a little bit about the credits and XP, and it's something that I just want to let you guys know. If you're interested in getting the Roma's Kobayashi camo or the beer can camo, normal Tier 8 premium camo gives you a minus 10% post-battle cost. So it's the Type 10 camo. With the Roma, that number jumps up to minus 50% if you get the Kobayashi camo. However, the Roma also gets a bonus 20% extra credits earned throughout the game. And you can see here, looking at the screenshot, let me pull it up again really quickly. There we go. You can see plus 20% for the Kobayashi, plus 50% because he was running the Wyvern, and plus 20% for the Zulu if you do have those credit flags to spare. And also the Military Month contributor as well. But yeah, using the Kobayashi camo is going to give you a very nice boost in the credit. So you can see here, even on this defeat, he was still able to earn with a premium account over 1 million credits. So this thing is just a touch behind the Missouri for credit earning potential, and is by far the best Tier 8 battleship and the best Tier 8 ship in general for earning credits. So if you are in dire need of some and you have some money to spare, get a Roma. Now, obviously, experience matters and you still have to perform in the ship to be able to earn credits, but at the very least, with credit flags and the Kobayashi camo, you are going to be able to earn a very nice paycheck if you have a pretty good game in this ship. So Putin really wanted me to stress that to you guys. That doesn't mean you need to go out there and buy it, but if you can get past the looks of it and you just care about the money that it's going to earn you and the money that it's going to give you, then by all means, take this camo with you. So with that being said, this is the Sneaky Snake for Brothers in Arms World of Warships signing off. I hope you guys enjoyed this Roma review and commentary, and I hope you enjoyed Putin's gameplay. Please consider giving the video a like, commenting on it, or possibly subscribing to the channel. All of it is very much appreciated. And with that being said, guys and gals, as always, have a great day.